Welcome to Connecting Africa. I'm Eleni Jokas. As the continent looks to ramp up intra-African trade, seaports are emerging as vital logistics hubs. Maritime freight is expected to increase by 62% as the world's largest free trade agreement, the African Continental Free Trade Area, is further implemented across the continent. And the World Economic Forum estimates that 132 million tons of intra-African exports will be transported by sea in 2030. To handle this increased demand, companies are investing in improving existing ports and building new ones. Our Connecting Africa correspondent Victoria Rubadiri traveled to Senegal to see how one of the world's largest port operators, DP World, is expanding the region's blue economy.
It's one of the busiest and oldest container ports in West Africa.
The Port of Dakar is effectively a colonial port. It was established during the French participation in the economy in Senegal around the 1860s.
We move about 850,000 containers, through that. And that was 200,000 containers when we took over the terminal in early 2000s.
Despite its strategic location on the Atlantic Ocean, the port, which is in the heart of Senegal's capital city, Dakar, is increasingly facing lots of limitations.
So the size of vessel that we can receive in the Port of Dakar today is not in line with the market demand today, and more important, the projection that we have for the future.
About 50 kilometers away, this new greenfield site south of Dakar is set to become the location for a new state-of-the-art multi-billion-dollar port called Ndayan.
Behind that breakwater, we will construct a container yard to be able to unload the largest container ships in the world.
Finlo Peish is among those overseeing the port's construction.
It's like moving an airport from the center of a city outside the city, so you don't have all the traffic going into the middle of the city. What you're standing on will have been extended another half a kilometer out to sea, and then another 1.6 kilometers southwards. And you'll have a protected area behind which vessels can shelter and be unloaded.
Construction of the new port is already underway with dredging, the sucking up of sediment from the sea floor, and dumping it where the new terminal is going to be.
It will be our biggest investment in the continent, one of the biggest DP World has done. It's a $1.2 billion project. We are doubling the terminal capacity there. We're going to create a lot of jobs, and it will add 3% to the GDP of the country.
The new port will also include the construction of a free zone, a tax-friendly area to attract businesses.
It's going to allow other countries which do not have this infrastructure to bring their cargo into Senegal, and then plans today are to have important roads being built, and more important, to have rail. Now, when we shift cargo from road to rail, we can reduce up to 60% emissions. It's going to allow us to connect not only to Senegal or to Dakar, but any neighboring country, any landlocked country that is surrounding the location of Senegal.
Dubai-based DP World is one of the largest port operators on the continent. It runs 9 ports and is currently developing 2 more. Mohamed Akoji is the CEO and Managing Director of the Sub-Saharan Africa division at DP World. He oversees operations in 48 African markets, generating revenue of $3.5 billion and employing over 28,000 people.
We have a logistics business with 6,500 trucks, with over 200 warehouses across the continent. And then we have a market access business that does distribution of consumer products and healthcare products into 400,000 points of sale. So through our ports, logistics network and market access business, we provide an end-to-end supply chain into the continent and out.
Where are you finding the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest challenge is cross-border. I think if we can get a harmonized customs system that gets more digitized, we can shorten supply chains and reduce the cost of product going into and out of Africa. I think for me, that's a big challenge in Africa, but it's also a big opportunity, because if you look at inter-Africa trade, it only represents about 16% of Africa's trade, but in other parts of the world like Asia, inter-Asia trade is 60%. So if we can improve that between African countries, we can certainly see an extra layer of growth which helps everybody.
You know, the last time we spoke, you were talking about technology and implementation of AI. How is that integrated into your business? How much headway have you made?
Yeah, you see, for me, Africa will leapfrog a lot of the technologies that, you know, that we've seen in other parts of the world. Like, take for example, computers and mobile phones. I think the consumer in Africa is digitizing a lot quicker than companies like us, as well as the public sector. And we got to catch up. I think we are behind a bit. The good news is that we've recognized that, and we are investing massively in digitization. I think we need to move up the ladder in terms of becoming more predictive with AI, etc. And it will come and it will happen. And I think companies like ours on the continent and the public sector will catch up, because the consumer is way ahead.
When we come back, the investment one airline is making to expand its fleet across Africa. Welcome back. Our world is more connected than ever, thanks to air travel. However, traveling within the African continent by plane can still prove to be expensive and challenging. Despite being home to nearly 18% of the world's population, Africa represents only 2% of global air traffic, yet the opportunities are immense. According to the International Air Transport Association, or IATA, in 2024, African air cargo increased more than 14%. To keep up with this demand, there's a growing push to invest in aviation infrastructure, safety, and connectivity. Uganda Airlines is one of more than 30 African-owned airlines registered under IATA, and we took a look at its expansion plans. At the Entebbe International Airport, Uganda Airlines crews are ready to take off to new heights.
When we connect countries, then we are connecting investments, connecting trade, connecting tourism. As Uganda Airlines, we see ourselves right in the middle of that.
The airline has seen a steady increase in passenger travel in recent years. It says it carried 77,000 travelers in 2019, with a massive jump to 450,000 last year. It flies to 16 destinations around the continent and abroad, most recently adding routes to Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and Zambia.
The only plan that one can think of is, how do you open up Uganda to the world? And that's where the strategy of our destinations is.
For Uganda Airlines CEO Jennifer Bamuturaki, collaboration is key to boost intra-African travel.
It's mind-boggling that between African countries, I'll pay more than if I'm flying off the continent to Europe. And I think it's a conversation that has to happen between the airlines and the airports to make it more customer-friendly in terms of the cost of travel. When we move traders from Southern Africa, from West Africa, and move them to East Africa, that's already a connection we're doing. And we see that driving demand.
The airline opened its own cargo operations in 2021 and now has the capacity to transport 5,000 tons a year.
Currently, we're carrying all our cargo in our belly because we don't have a cargo freighter. But one of the ways that we're expanding, we're growing our fleet. The plan is to have 2 cargo freighters over the 5 years, a 20-ton and a 40-ton. So such figures show us that there's potential in Africa, and we just need to position ourselves right to be able to tap into this potential.
The International Air Transport Association expects 72.5 million tons of goods to be transported by air globally in 2025, with a portion of that coming from Africa. Uganda Airlines hopes the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the world's largest free trade deal, will help ease this additional movement of goods.
We don't want to lower the bar in terms of quality, but we want to lower the bar in terms of taxation, in terms of free movement of these goods. There has to be a common understanding between countries. As we expand, we see ourselves connecting more of the cargo. And I'll tell you, not just within Africa and off the continent, whereby African products are sold on other continents.
Up next, we go to South Africa to see how a train manufacturer is overhauling rail operations across the continent. Welcome back to Connecting Africa. Roads have long been the main source of transportation across Africa. It's how 80% of goods are moved throughout the continent. But less than 50% of these roads are paved, leading to challenges in transportation. While railways can offer quicker, cleaner, and more cost-effective transport options, it too faces infrastructure challenges due to a lack of maintenance and electrification. Still, one research group estimates sub-Saharan Africa's rail transportation has immense potential, estimating the industry could be worth just over $6 billion by 2030. Our Connecting Africa correspondent Victoria Rubadiri visited a train manufacturer in South Africa to see how it's localizing production.
On the outskirts of Johannesburg, South Africa, in the small mining town of Nigel, one of Africa's largest train manufacturing factories is running full steam ahead. This is Alstom Obonye, one of two sites run by French firm Alstom Group. It's an expansive operation with 9 modern workshops taking up 80,000 square meters of a larger 450,000 square meter site.
Where are we right now? So we are in our carbon steel workshop. Here we are making 2 types of components. 30, we've got the end underframe, which is essentially the foundation of the train. Okay. So it is made from carbon steel, which is a very strong steel. Understandably so, because it's basically the train support system and support the car body cell.
The Alstom Obonye site manufactures 7 key rail components, including bogies, which are the frames that hold the wheels, electrical wires, and even the driver's control panel in the train's cab. Localization is central to the working culture at Alstom. From its workforce to the production materials it uses, it embodies the Made in Africa for Africa philosophy.
The train, if you describe it to your kids, you tell them it's a big Lego with 10,000 pieces. 70% plus of those pieces are South African pieces. And so they get assembled, but also many of them are manufactured here in South Africa. And it's a key difference because you sometimes hear that industrial players, they will manufacture back home and then they will do the final assembly in the country of destination. Not the case here.
From the components produced at Alstom Obonye, we find ourselves here at the largest and most advanced train manufacturing center in Africa. We're about to see how it all comes together.
They're working on part of a nearly $3 billion joint venture deal signed in 2013 with Gibela to manufacture 600 commuter trains for South Africa.
The teams of Gibela have delivered 250 trains to the customer plaza, and the trains are working.
Walk me through the timeline, the production process from the components to now a finished train. How long does that take?
It takes a month. It takes about 21 days, which is amazing. Actually, we are the fastest train manufacturer when it comes to a specific product. We are able to manufacture 42 coaches a month, 7 trains a month.
Just one of these blue trains, or the People's Train as they're locally known, can replace 400 cars or 60 buses, offering more efficient and sustainable mobility to growing cities like Cape Town. Alstom Group has a steadily growing footprint in Africa, with a presence in 10 countries across the continent.
We've seen talk about borderless trains. Some countries have signed agreements to see the implementation of such interventions. How do these help, especially when it comes to boosting inter-African trade via rail?
The continent, and specifically South Africa and the neighboring countries, which are very rich in mining, we believe at Alstom that they can't just rely on trucks. It's not to exclude trucks, it's to make it something complementary for maybe the last end of the logistical chain or the beginning of the logistical chain. But in terms of scale, freight is going to carry a heavy load.
As they invest throughout the continent, the company continues to look at South Africa, which has proven to be a great success, outperforming other Alstom locations globally.
We think for South Africa, there continues to be a huge growth, and the vision that we'd like to be a part of is South Africa increasingly becoming a hub for the African Union. When the big Alstom Group presents itself worldwide, they use this factory as an example of fast, strong, reliable industrial output.
Up next, efforts to build one of the largest food logistics hubs in Africa. Welcome back. Food insecurity is a pressing issue across Africa. Within the last decade, the continent's food insecure population has increased by 60%. This despite agriculture production rapidly increasing. Food supply is not able to keep pace, in part due to mounting logistic hurdles, including poor roadways, high transportation costs, and lack of storage. The World Bank found only 5% of food is traded between African countries, and it says the cost of moving commodities within the continent is about 20% higher than importing from overseas markets. One way to significantly improve the continent's food supply chain is by modernizing and increasing storage facilities. Nigeria is looking to do just that as it builds what could be the continent's largest logistics food hub.
When the COVID-19 pandemic hit Nigeria, the nation had to face the issue of food insecurity head-on.
We could see at the time that there was a significant increase in the prices of food, and one of the ideas behind this is the fact that we don't want any Nigerian to go to sleep hungry.
The idea was born to build what could become Africa's largest food logistics hub.
What we are looking at here is to store a significant amount of food that will last Lagosians for like 90 days, should the crisis in the mold of COVID ever occur again.
Under the Origin Tech Group, construction is well underway to build state-of-the-art facilities for food processing, storage and distribution in Lagos State.
This should be a pivotal change for agriculture in Africa. Looking at the food system, you wonder why we still import a lot of things. It's because you don't have a market-led system. I've not seen a lot of it develop. I believe that this project needs to run across Africa very fast. And we are privileged to be that company who is willing to help pilot that drive, because it has to be localized to each and adapted to the farmer's culture.
Phase 1 is expected to be completed in May. It will have a warehouse system for dry food and be able to process up to 10,000 tons of perishable food per day in cold room facilities. The hub aims to streamline food deliveries by supplying bulk orders to various markets across Lagos State.
So anything you buy between the logistics hub and the middle level market, you have a 20% reduction in price. And I think this will be the attraction for the market operators to join the change.
Having a more reliable stockpile not only helps local consumers, but the farmers who supply the food as well.
With the advent of the central logistic hub, which I have regarded as a game changer, people like us who are in the poultry business will also see it as a prospect, for a greater expansion of our businesses, because now that we know that there is access to market, there is a place we can always take our eggs. So you have adequate return on your investment.
Once up and running at full capacity, the Origin Tech Group says the logistics hub will have the capacity to store 500 million tons of food and can generate up to $1.6 billion a year in food transactions, creating an impact that will reach far beyond Nigeria.
Our hope is that we see this model moving very, very fast and transforming Africa, reducing carbon emission and, of course, waste.
The potentials are huge. 500 million tons of food in a space, it's not a joke. We are not thinking local, really. We are thinking, at least for the African continent, we can repeat this in several countries, and it will be like Africa seems to be the hunger capital of the world, and we can start exporting food also to the rest of the world.
Well, that's it for this month's Connecting Africa. If you want to know more about the subjects we cover on this program, you can check out our website. Until next month, from me, Eleni Jokas, let's keep on connecting.